My husband left me for another woman. 6 weeks later, he found out I was seeing someone new, and he lost his mind. Not because he still loved me, not because he regretted leaving. He was furious because I moved on too fast. Let me back up and tell you the whole thing, because the nerve of this man still makes my hands shake when I think about it. I'm 34. My husband, I'll call him Mark, we were married for 7 years, together for 9. On paper, we looked solid, house in the suburbs. 2 dogs, a group chat full of couple friends who called us goals. Underneath that, for the last 2 of those years, I felt like I was slowly disappearing. Date nights stopped. Conversations became logistics. Are the dogs fed? Did you pay the water bill? Nothing about us, nothing about how we were doing. I told myself it was a phase. Every marriage has a phase. Looking back, there were small things I brushed off at the time. He started going to the gym at odd hours, sometimes at 9 at night. Coming home, showered and smelling like cologne he didn't usually wear, he picked up his phone off the counter every time it buzzed, something he never used to do. Once I asked who he was texting so late and he said it was just work stuff, and I let it go. Because who accuses their husband of something like that over a buzzing phone? I trusted him. That's the part people forget when they judge how someone reacts to betrayal. You're not stupid for not seeing it. You're just someone who believed the person you married wouldn't lie to your face. Then one random Tuesday in March, Mark sat me down at the kitchen table, the same table where we ate breakfast that morning like everything was normal, and told me he wasn't happy. He said he'd been unhappy for a long time. He said he needed space to figure out who he was outside of our marriage. I remember sitting there thinking, who is this person? Because the man in front of me sounded like he'd rehearsed this speech in his car. I asked him if there was someone else. He said no. He looked me dead in the eyes and said no. I believed him, because 9 years builds a certain kind of trust, the kind where you don't expect to be lied to over something that big. He moved into his brother's spare room that same week. I spent the next month in a fog, barely eating, calling my sister every night just to hear another voice in the house. I kept replaying our last few years, trying to find the moment I missed, the warning sign I should have caught. Those first few weeks were the hardest of my life. I'd wake up at 3 in the morning out of habit, reaching for a side of the bed that was empty, and it would hit me all over again like the first time. I stopped cooking real meals because cooking for one felt like admitting something I wasn't ready to admit. My sister started showing up unannounced with groceries because she knew I wouldn't ask for help, even though I clearly needed it. I went to work, smiled at coworkers, came home, and cried in the shower where the sound of the water made it feel less real. I want you to picture that version of me because it matters for what comes next. 5 weeks after he left, my friend Dana sent me a screenshot. Mark's coworker, a woman named Ashley, posted a photo from a weekend trip, him and Ashley matching drinks, his hand on her waist, captioned, "So happy I found you." Time-stamped 4 days after he supposedly discovered he needed space to find himself. I sat on my bathroom floor and laughed, actual laughing, because of course, there was someone else. He didn't need space. He needed an exit that didn't make him look like the villain. I confronted him over text because I couldn't stand to hear his voice. He admitted it, said things developed with Ashley after he moved out. Though the trip photo timestamp told a very different story about when things actually started, he apologized in that hollow way people do when they're not actually sorry. They're just sorry they got caught. I blocked him everywhere except one shared number for logistics, and I focused on getting through the divorce paperwork. Here's where it gets almost funny. For the next month, Mark was suspiciously chatty. Random texts asking how I was doing, whether I'd eaten, whether the dogs missed him. I ignored most of it. I was healing, slowly, with the help of my sister, my therapist, and honestly, a lot of trashy reality TV and long walks where I screamed into my car alone in parking lots. I want to be honest about something. I wasn't looking for anyone. Dating was the last thing on my mind. I was still in sweatpants most weekends, still flinching every time I saw a couple our age laughing together in public. Around week 6, a friend from my old job, someone Mark barely knew, asked me out for coffee. I almost said no. I remember staring at the text for a full 10 minutes before typing back. Sure, why not? I told myself it was just coffee, nothing serious. Just a reason to put on real clothes and leave the house for once. That coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into an easy, low-pressure thing where nobody was performing. Nobody was pretending to be fine. He knew a little about what I'd been through and never pushed, never asked for more than I was ready to give. There was no pressure to be healed already. No pressure to pretend the divorce wasn't happening. It felt like remembering how to breathe. Somehow, and I still don't fully know how, Mark found out. I think it was through mutual friends, the same friend group that used to call us goals. And he did not take it. Well, he called me, actually called, for the first time since the divorce filing. His voice was shaking, but not with sadness. With anger, he asked how I could move on so fast. He said it was disrespectful to what we built. He said he needed time to process everything, and it hurt to see me already parading someone new around. I want you to sit with that for a second. The way I had to sit with it on the phone, stunned into silence. This man left our marriage for a woman he was already seeing behind my back. He built a whole secret relationship, while I sat at home thinking he just needed space. He was on a couple's trip with her before the ink was even close to dry, if there had ever been ink to begin with. And somehow, in his mind, I was the one moving too fast for having one dinner with someone new. Months after, he'd already started an entire other life. Finally found my voice and asked him the only question that mattered. I asked if he remembered telling me there was no one else. He got quiet. Then he tried to explain that it was different because he technically left first. Like timing gave him a claim on my grief. Like there was a rule book where the person who cheated and lied gets to dictate how long the person he betrayed has to stay wrecked before moving forward. I told him something I'd been sitting on for weeks. Something I hadn't even said to my therapist yet. I told him I wasn't moving fast. I was moving forward. And there's a difference. Moving fast would have been staying in that marriage another year, another 5 years. Shrinking myself smaller and smaller because I was scared of being alone. Moving forward was allowing myself one good dinner after months of crying on a bathroom floor because of what he did. I told him his anger wasn't about respect for our marriage. It was about control. He wanted the story to be that I was devastated without him, and it broke something in him to find out I wasn't. He didn't have a response to that. He just said whatever, do what you want, and hung up. Classic thought. The thing that gets me even now, weeks later, is how normal this reaction seems to some people. I told a coworker this whole story on a break, and she actually said, well, maybe give it a little more time out of respect. Respect for what? Exactly. For the version of events where he gets to leave, lie, cheat, build a whole new relationship in secret. And I'm supposed to sit in the wreckage performing sadness on his timeline so his ego stays intact. My therapist put it better than I ever could. She said something like, when someone hurts you and then gets upset that the hurt didn't destroy you the way they expected, that's not about your healing being wrong. That's about their need to feel like they still matter to you more than you matter to yourself. Mark didn't want me back. He just couldn't stand the idea that I could be okay or even happy without him orchestrating it. I'm not going to pretend the healing has been linear. There are nights I still cry over the life I thought I was building. The version of my 30s I'd planned around a person who was already planning his exit, but I am not going to shrink my healing to make an unfaithful man comfortable. I didn't rush anything. I grieved a marriage that, honestly, had been quietly ending for 2 years before he ever said a word out loud. He just got to control the timeline of when the truth came out. He doesn't get to control the timeline of when I'm allowed to feel good again, too. So tell me, honestly, was I wrong for going to dinner? Was I supposed to wait some invisible, respectful amount of time so the man who cheated on me could feel like the center of my story a little longer? Or is this exactly what it looks like? A man who wanted the freedom to leave without ever having to watch me be fine without him. Drop your thoughts below. I read every single comment on these, and honestly, after the last 6 weeks, I could use the validation, asterisk,